Hello everyone, I figured it was time we did another unboxing. Now, in one of the previous videos, I think I had the camera too close, so there was a lot of constant sort of refocusing, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, we're a little bit better now. I've got the camera further away, so if by this point the camera isn't constantly refocusing with my hand movements, we should be okay. Now, one of the videos I did a little while ago was on my quote-unquote cheapest knife. I have another one now, which is the same price, so this will be a good comparison. So, the hell is that? Okay, there is a little bit of cheese sauce on the table that won't affect the video. We'll ignore that. So, I've got a few things here. We are only going to look at one this time. You'll have to hold on for other videos. So the one we're going to look at is the Pallés, I believe it's pronounced Pallés, the Pallés bird beak. I think this is a Spanish company. Honestly, I've really struggled to find any kind of details out there. But I bought this for £9.99 from Cyclaire knives. Looked good on the website. It says it came complete with a faux horn handle, which is obviously code for plastic. But again, I thought it would be good to have a look at a low-cost workhorse of a knife, and you know, for less than £10, how bad can it be? So, first of all, perfectly nice little box. Comes with absolutely no details on it. It just says Pallés and Navaja/pocket knife. I presume that Navaja is Spanish for pocket knife. Any Spanish speakers either confirm or deny. So, yeah, it doesn't even say where it's made or where the company comes from. There's no information on there, but nice enough box. Let's have a little look. What do we got? So the knife is in a little plastic wrapper. There's appears to be instructions in there. Yeah, I think this is Spanish because you've got two choices, Spanish and English. Just says it's sharp, be careful, and it says don't carry it anywhere, ever. Yeah, we don't... Made in RPC. Have they misspelled PRC? Again, if you speak Spanish, let me know if that's just the Spanish translation of People's Republic of China. But yeah, made in RPC. I've not seen that before. Anyway, the Pallés bird beak knife for £9.99. Just comes in a simple little plastic bag. Slide it out, and immediately, this is incredibly lightweight. How much does this weigh? Let's have a little look. 32 grams. That is a very light little knife. It feels plasticky, but let's open it up. A little bit of resistance. There is a double stop there, that's good. I always like a double stop. And a reasonably solid click into place. Obviously, bird beak blade looks perfectly good. I always try to be positive because this is, you know, it's somebody's business. This handle feels horrible. It feels cheap. I've never experienced that with any of my other knives. It feels like a very cheap knife. And just having a look at this, the finish quality is very poor. Yeah, this, I don't know whether or not this was a factory second that has slipped through, or if the quality control isn't great, or if this is just what the standard is like, but this is not a great finish. There are gaps around all of the... Yeah, let me just show you. So there are gaps around the rivets. There's sort of scuff marks all along the back. Yeah, this is not what I would expect from a brand new knife. This is the sort of thing I would expect to find if it had been knocking around a workshop for quite a while. But yeah, I'm not very impressed with that. Anyway, moving on. Moving on from the looks, let's just talk about how it functions as a knife, because as always with these things, it's less than £10. What can you really expect? The spring isn't particularly strong, but equally it's not so weak that it's going to just snap on your fingers, so that's a good sign. The quality of the blade isn't too bad. It's a reasonable grind. The edge doesn't seem too bad. The blade is straight, that's always a good sign. Yeah, it seems okay. Let's have a little look at a sharpness test. So, brand new piece of paper. Previously we've had some issues with it because it's been very damp in here, but the humidity isn't too bad, so this should be a much more reasonable test. It cuts. Yep, it cuts all right. The edge of the cut is slightly rough, but no, I would say that's absolutely fine. Really no concerns with that at all. Yeah, the spring isn't very strong at all when you close it, and yeah, it only just sort of goes back into the handle when you close it there, but you know, that's fine. Honestly, I'm quite disappointed with this. Perhaps I've been spoiled with the other ones, but if you go back to the Schrade Imperial Sodbuster knife, that was the same price, if not a little bit cheaper, and the build quality is substantially better. I think I might still have that over here. Yeah, here it is. So the Schrade Imperial Sodbuster, for the same price, if not slightly better, is enormously superior. The build quality feels better. It feels weightier. Let's have a little weigh. I forget what it was. Try that. Yeah, 57 grams, so you can feel it much more in the hand. The spring is stronger. I wasn't actually going to do this now. I was going to do it another time, but if you saw my review of this, the unboxing of this, I mentioned that it was a little bit gritty, a little bit grimy to open. That soon wore away. There was no real problem with that. And to be honest with you, this cheap little knife has become one of my go-tos here. It is absolutely fantastic for the price. So Schrade, you have done yourselves an absolute service here. This is a very, very nice little workhorse of a knife. So comparing the two, the Pallés, it's just, the best way to describe it, or the best way to sum it up, is there is a big difference between a knife that's cheap and a cheap knife. This will no doubt cut. This will do a job, but even the handle flexes. Yeah, I don't know how much this is going to get used. I think this is the sort of knife that I'm going to put into the pen pot, and if there's nothing else within reach, this will do. But this certainly isn't the kind of knife that I would reach for as a first port of call. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed with that. Pallés, if you see this, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be honest. This is not great. For the same price, everybody, you can get a far superior blade, just in the form of the Schrade Imperial Sodbuster. And I mean, it's not even a competition at this point. This blows the other one out of the water. Yes, they're slightly different shapes, blah, 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 but I can't imagine anything that this couldn't do compared to that and do it better. So yeah, this is this is my first negative review. I feel a bit bad about it. I don't want to speak ill of anybody's product, but it's the first knife I've ever come across and I've been disappointed with. It's a slightly strange feeling. Put another way, if I had been in a physical shop rather than buying these online based just upon the images, I wouldn't have bought the Pallés. I'd have had a look at it and I'd have thought, no, this isn't worth the money. And that's a bit sad. So there we are. I hate to have a negative video. Not entirely sure how I feel about it, but the fact of the matter is, that's not a great knife. So there we have it. Sorry guys.